Kanye West is by far one of the most interesting artists working today, and I am not a Kanye apologist by any means. I can't defend him when he says something asinine.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Kanye.
I've been doing this more than you.
But I tend to stay away from him as a celebrity and choose to instead focus on him more as an artist. Kanye is someone who stands completely in a league of his own. You cannot accurately compare him to anyone else, and no one else comes to mind because there is no one like him. He is undoubtedly the most perplexing figure in modern pop music. No one stays as unpredictable yet maintains relevance and commercial viability like he does. He's someone that people will openly criticize.
You are not the greatest living rock star of all time.
And yet praise as a genius.
Kanye's so passionate that if you're with him and you're not as passionate as he is, you'll feel uncomfortable. And I think that's what makes him get up and be like, nah, fuck this, I got something to say.
In a lot of ways, and I can feel your confusion already, he is the Donald Trump of music. Because everything he does in the public eye would ruin anyone else's career. And yet for him, he only seems to get bigger. Some people will defend him for it, and others will despise him for it. Regardless of whatever you think of him, you have an opinion. And that is what's so fascinating about Kanye West. He is one of the most hated people in music, and yet people will praise him as the genius he touts himself as. But like I do already, I don't want to focus on how he portrays himself. I want to see what it is that makes him so unique. I want to know what earns him his acclaim despite how conceited he is. How does he make music that's so bold? Well, let's look at what he wants in a song. There's a part in a 2006 Rolling Stone cover story where him and will.i.am are talking to each other about their work. And Kanye says that of the music released the year before, the only albums that I listened to were yours, System of a Down, and Fiona Apple. I think that's the key to it. What do these three albums share that make Kanye see them as being of the same level? Well, what they share is that they're populated with songs that follow their own rules, yet are completely rooted in pop music. No matter what they do, how crazy they get, they are grounded by infectious pop melodies. And that's the first factor in understanding him. Every instrument needs to play a distinct, memorable melody. These albums share the same traits that can be found in his songs, abrupt switches in tempo, a myriad of instruments, various genres being played with. Yet no matter how chaotic they may get, they are streamlined by a very basic melody that gets stuck in your head. This plays into the next factor, the need to make every song dynamic. Part of what's so much fun about listening to Kanye's work is that you have no idea what he's going to do next. It doesn't even matter if the genres don't match. He's very driven by the notion that nothing is a bad idea, it just can't be bombastic. Roger Ebert once referenced Jerry Lee Lewis as a pounding performer who doesn't care if he tears up the piano as long as everybody's rocking. That's ultimately what I come back to when I think of Kanye. He will break as many rules as possible just to make the song rich in range. A lot of people see his middle career with Graduation and 808s and Heartbreak as a period where he essentially sold out, where he wasn't concerned with making great records anymore, where we lost Kanye the artist and got Kanye the pop star, but I never saw it that way. What you see with these two albums is that he's trying to build barriers for himself. Graduation was synthesizer and drums, occasionally with another instrument added for more depth in the sound, but 808s was exclusively those two things, and it was a deliberate choice because he had proven he could do anything with endless resources. So what happens when he limits what he can pull from? How does he still make the songs dynamic? He's still able to bend genres, but he can't use their instruments, only their styles. For example, the song Paranoid from 808s is an 80s synth pop song.
Yeah, that's a good Paranoid.
But at its heart, it's 70s Motown.
To the floor. Hey, to the floor. Hey, never know.
This leads us to the final factor, taking something old and making it new. If you look at Daft Punk, a frequent collaborator of West, you'll see that they share this concept of taking contemporary styles and crossing them with older genres, which in turn adds more substance to their work. Where Daft Punk are comparably more mild, Kanye is never satisfied. He's determined to see just how far he can push what he makes. So what is it that ties all these elements together? What makes Kanye think he can do all this?
Now, I am what Michael Jackson was to me.
That may sound extremely self-serving, but I think that's it. In fact, you can look at Billie Jean as the foundation from which every beat he makes is built on. L.A. Reid once described it as having more hooks in it than anything I've ever heard. Everything in that song was catchy, and every instrument was playing a different hook. You could separate it into 12 different musical pieces, and I think you'd have 12 different hits. And he's absolutely right. All three factors of what makes Kanye so unique are rooted in this very song. The melding of genres, the musical depth, and the distinct melodies working together are what made every Michael Jackson song a cut above the rest. But for Kanye, he doesn't see a formula, he sees an idea to be taken from it. So this becomes this.
Flashing lights.
And this becomes this.
Flashing lights.
And this well, you get the idea. So despite whatever may be said of Kanye as a person, it's still criminal to overlook his work and what he's able to create. More than any other artist in pop culture, Kanye is the only one that seems to acknowledge that art is not a science. There are no rules, and he's been driven for the last 2 decades to push what boundaries we believe exist. Because art has no limits. It is whatever we make of it. Whether or not he's earned his arrogance, that is entirely up to you to decide. But I see him as someone always looking to challenge his audience and someone who is worthy of having their work examined. And even if no one can do what he does, we can at least try to understand.
Well, it looks like Kanye West woke up to all the backlash about his Taylor Swift line in his song Famous on his new album, The Life of Pablo. The lyric reads, "I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. I made that famous."
Well, at least a little bit.